Hola a todos nuestros amigos de Capital Sensorial. Aquí me encuentro, Ángel González, presentándoles una entrevista muy importante y muy especial. Desde Zagreb, Croacia, tenemos a Mistheria, que es un tecladista y pianista de origen italiano. Bueno, espero que disfruten esta entrevista y comenzamos. Hi, Mistheria, how are you today?
Hello, Angel. I hope I pronounced good your name.
Yes,
I'm
it's
fine,
Ángel.
thank you. And um, huge greetings to all listeners of Capital Sensorial Radio.
Yes, Capital Sensorial Radio.
Yeah. So it's a
Um,
real
so
pleasure to talk to your listeners.
it's a pleasure also for us. We're really excited of having you. This is our second international interview in
Yeah.
Europe, so this is incredible for us. First, well, before going deeper in the interview, how would you introduce yourself? Who is Mysteria?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, very easy. I mean, I am. My life is all you can say just about music. So I'm a musician, composer, producer, of course, keyboard player, piano addicted, a guitar maniac, and a football lover. I love football. So yeah, that's quite easy. I do also teach, and since all lifelong I'm teaching both piano and keyboards and guitar. So, and I'm a live performer for my solo projects and also other bands I collaborate with.
Great. So thank you for answering this question. I know it's a little bit hard, but
Introduce
yes,
himself.
introducing yourself is always complicated for anyone, I guess. So, well, I would like you to tell me about how did you start in music? I read about you, and I remember something about your father was a musician too. So, can you tell me a little bit about what made you become more interested in music? How were those early years in your musician career?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you read well. I started at I was 6 years old, so very young because my dad loved music. He was not a professional musician, not a musician. He loved music. He was an amateur musician in his childhood, and so when I was about 6 years old, so old enough for him to start with music and keep accordion, on my body because I started with accordion. Yeah, so he decided to start to introduce me to music. And so I started usually as it starts with some music theory, solfeggio classes, privately, and then I entered the music conservatory. Later on, I was 13. I started studying piano, but the final graduation was as a pipe organ player and composition. So after that, after 10 years, after graduation, I start to, let's say, working professionally in the music business.
Whoa, that's interesting. What instruments did your father play?
Yeah, he was accordion player.
Accordion
Yeah,
player. Great.
yeah. We had an accordion home that actually I have here in the studio now because it's my piece of art.
Oh, so
uh,
you're in your studio right now?
yeah, yes.
Oh, great.
And the accordion is there, and it's a very old accordion. I think it's now about 80, 90 years old.
So you first began as an accordion player and then the piano player. And also, did you really play a pipe organ currently, or?
Yeah. My, let's say, my official instrument is a pipe organ.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my graduation as a pipe organ player, It's a very charming and majestic instrument. I was always in love with this huge, Titanic instrument, and I'm very, very happy and glad that I started that instrument because it's very complete. Anything. It gives you really a huge knowledge about music theory, harmony, and performing.
Okay. Well, so you're kind of the keys master.
Oh, I don't know if I am the key master, but anyway, I love keyboards and the piano and the pipe organ, anything with keys. Also, I love harpsichord. Sometimes it happens in some music hall, concert halls. There is some old harpsichord, and it's very nice to play some Bach there, Scarlatti, or this baroque music.
Actually, I saw a video of you performing in Osaka, Japan, and
Yep.
a guitar solo, and
Yeah.
it was amazing. I really enjoyed and rewatched the video. I don't know, like 5 or 6 times that
Thank
day.
you.
It was amazing. So you were 13 years old. You were very young when you started in the conservatory.
Yeah, yes. That's the correct. It was the correct age to enter the music conservatory at the time. Yeah.
And how did you live in those years? How was your experience? Well, being a teenager and learning music in a very fantastic way. I can imagine that you had amazing teachers and
Yeah.
an amazing experience also. Can you tell me about your life in those years?
Yeah, that was. There were amazing years. That is the best time between 10 and 20 years old to learn, not just music, to learn in general anything that then you want to master. So I just have a wonderful memories of that time. I had amazing teachers. I'm very blessed to have had this also musicians that passed me all their experience, their knowledge. So it was a very how to say holy time, and I loved that. So I was also pushing hard, to learn as much as I could at the time. And I remember in the last 4 or 5 years, it was like practicing like 8 hours per day at least, between 6, 8, 9 hours per day was the average practicing time. Anyway, beautiful time.
And why did you choose piano? Well, the pipe organ by yourself, or did your father have an influence in the instrument, or why?
No, because the piano, before to start playing the organ, the pipe organ, the course that was 10 years long was starting with piano. So before to approach the organ, you should have studied piano for about 6 years. So this was, the process. But then I wanted to play a pipe organ, but then I started to study piano because it was required, and I fell in love with piano, and I think it became my maybe main instrument, or at least the instrument that with which I perform the most, live. So I said at the beginning I'm a piano lover. So that's I love piano, especially piano composers like Chopin, Liszt. These are my favorites, especially Chopin.
Now that you mentioned that kind of composers, would you say that they are the most important influences in your music and in your career?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, as mentioned, the greatest classical composer are for sure my main influence. So, as I said, Chopin, Liszt, but before them, Bach, Vivaldi, Mozart, Beethoven. I mean, all the greatest classical composers that
Yeah.
you study in the classical music. Later on, I start to then knowing also rock and metal, and the bands that I was listening first were Deep Purple, Rainbow, and the greatest band from the progressive rock 70s, like Jethro Tull, Emerson, Lake Palmer, Yes, Marillion, Genesis, Pink Floyd. I was listening a lot of these bands from 70s, 80s, and later on, between 80s and 90s, I started also to listen a lot of these guitar heroes that were coming out that time, especially from the Shrapnel Records roster, like I remember Vinnie Moore, Joe Tafoya, all these guitar players, of course, Yngwie Malmsteen, and then Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, Gary Moore. I was listening also, it's a little bit older, but all these great guitar players I was listening a lot because I didn't know at that time, but maybe in my inner soul I start to already to figure out that I want to be not just a keyboard player standing locked behind the keyboards, but enjoying the stage, so like a guitar player. And in fact, then later on, I don't know, 10 years maybe later, I start to play guitar, and yeah, now I'm really a guitar maniac. I love that instrument because on stage when you perform, it's so wonderful. You can interact with audience, with other musicians on stage. I'm free, to make my show on stage, and as you saw the show in not just the solo, the guitar solo, okay, but we had a lot of shows in Japan with Japan tour with Mark Bolza and Kelly Simmons, and it was amazing, how to incredible was to interact with the Japanese audience. So very fantastic. So this is a little bit my influences.
Influences between classical music and the rock music, mainly because I think in those years the rock music and hard rock music, progressive rock music, was becoming more important in those years, I think. um, what would you say was the main event in your life that made you decide to start mainly metal projects such as the Vivaldi metal project?
What band was inspiring me, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's say, I mean, first of all, I was listening a lot of Deep Purple, and their music was already at the time, their music had a lot of influences with classical music, just because, John Lord and Rich Blackmore, they were influenced very much by classical music. But also because my same influences were deep and strong. during my life, I've been always, combining classical and rock, then classical and metal. And Vivaldi's The Four Seasons was one of the masterwork that I was listening the most when I was studying at music conservatory in my childhood. Piece of music that maybe I listened the most in my life. And time by time, I was a little bit, performing some parts from the Four Seasons. Until 2013, when I decided to cover all the opera, all the full masterwork, all the 12 movements. So spring, summer, fall, autumn, and winter. Because I just loved to perform live some parts of that, and then I decided to complete with studio work. This is my, devotion to Vivaldi.
And what did you do, and how did you manage to put all those people in the Vivaldi Metal project together? Because I also watched some videos, and I can see that there is a lot of production and work in group work, and also I think in the studio part was a massive thing to do.
The first album counts more than 130 musicians, and the second album, I think we are now about 150 musicians. Plus we have orchestra and choir. As you said, it's a huge production job. But I love to do it, so I enjoy. I have also, of course, some collaborators in my staff that help working. There are arrangers, composers, orchestrators, conductors. Lot of people. And also, of course, the staff include promotion, people that helps with the media, like for example, getting this interview with you. So I want to thank Vanikia Promotion and Mr. Jack for arranging this interview. He does very great job. I recently also signed a deal with Infinity Heavy Agency, always for promotion, especially for the Vivaldi Metal project. And of course, we have our great booking agency in our lives entertainment. Unfortunately, this year, no so much chance to book concerts, but hopefully next year we're gonna start again with some live shows.
Which places have you visited with the Vivaldi Metal project?
We started just 3 years ago with live shows with the Vivaldi Metal project. We've been in Finland with our Unplugged show. Then we had the world premiere in Bulgaria in 2018. Then we performed in Italy. And then we came back again to Bulgaria in Sofia in 2019. We performed in at the Dokkum Festival in Netherlands. These are the show that we had. We had also some acoustic shows in Spain back in 2017. So we visited some countries, and we hope to visit much more. Yeah.
And as a session musician, who have you worked with?
Well, I had. This is hard to answer, let's say, because as a session musician. I worked with, I recorded and performed with many bands and artists. But let's say the artists that are more relevant in my in the last years, because I've been collaborating with them more often than just a single session, are like Roborock, Roy Z, of course Bruce Dickinson, Edu Falaschi, Mark Bolts, John West, Joe Stamp, Roger Staffelbach from Atlantica, Joe Stamp from Tower of Babel. So, quite a lot of amazing musicians and bands. So, yeah, let's say I'm quite lucky guy to work with these amazing people.
Would you say that working with those people has influenced in the way you perceive your music and your work?
Yeah, sure. Working, exchanging ideas with this fantastic musician is each time a challenge, a way to improve yourself. Whatever you are creating a riff, a guitar riff, or crafting a melody, making a new arrangement or writing lyrics, everything, push you to give more and more. So it's each time it's a wonderful experience, and of course gives a lot of experience more that you can add to your own music career. So it's amazing.
And do you have a particular team, staff in your studio you work with usually, or you work by yourself?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Otherwise, it would not be enough for one life to do everything. Yeah. It depends. I have now my solo career. I just released my new piano album, Dreams. In this album, for example, performed I think about 12 other musicians. And in my albums, the solo albums, there are always several guests. But in my solo career, I do the most of the job. But for example, in this Vivaldi Metal project, as I told you, I have many collaborators that do different kind of tasks, even managing some social networks, making arrangements, writing music and lyrics, recording. As I told you, also promotion and booking agencies are there. So of course it needs to have quite a bunch of great people to make everything together.
And do you produce your own music, or do you have also people who do that for you?
Yeah, I do produce music, both for my solo albums and for the Vivaldi project. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing, because the production and the recording of albums like the Vivaldi Metal Project ones. Well, I have heard actually some of your music in Spotify. I remember it was called Dragonfire, actually.
Yeah, Dragonfire.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
So
yeah, this album Dragonfire, it's from it was released in 2010. There are several guests: Joe Macaluso, Stevie DiGiorgio, Dino Fiorenza, Roger Staffelbach, John West, Roborock, Mark Bolts. many musicians there.
And what kind of challenges have you faced in your musician career?
Uh, I think the biggest challenge is to find the time to do everything. So that's the biggest challenge because everything else, I mean, I love to do, compose music, arranging, producing, performing live. Everything, it's not a problem. Of course, it requires a good organization because otherwise, really, it would be impossible. But for me, each single day, the biggest issue is time. I would love to have, or more hours per day, or don't sleep at all. So have more time to work. But yeah, we know it's impossible. So I just try to optimize
Your time, yeah.
the time to do the most I can in each single day.
How many hours do you work
But let's say generally it's about 15, 17 hours per day.
for the day and you sleep the rest of them?
Yeah, then the rest is about eating something, going to toilet, sleeping.
And sleeping. And
Yeah.
sometimes I guess you have to eat as quickly as you can and then go back to work. I think
Well, couple of days also I reserve for teaching because I teach
yeah.
here at a rock academy in Zagreb. So yeah, even it's time to do everything, but I'm happy to do that. So
And that's important. You mentioned that you are happy doing this, but have you ever had a moment of crisis in your life when you said, I don't know, I can't continue this way, or I don't feel I'm making a progress in my career or maybe your life?
yeah, honestly, I had it just once. Just once. It was a very crucial moment in my life because I was living in Los Angeles. I moved in United States, in Los Angeles, California, and the plan was to live there. So build my career there. It was just after the music conservatory graduation. But at the time it was not so easy also because coming from Italy, the money situation was not very well balanced. It was very expensive for our Italians to live in California. So let's say after a few months the plan failed. And when I came back to Italy, I was a little bit, lost, and I need like a couple months to find again the way back. But it was then quick to get back on track. But in that 2 months, yeah, I had a little bit, waving moments, good and bad moments. But then I think it's normal. I think each person in life has some moments of this kind.
I think that every musician has faced um, those kind of issues sometimes, even if they're professional or they are just amateur musicians. Um, well, personally, I also play music, and sometimes I just feel like I'm going nowhere with everything, and not just music. I just have these crisis moments where I feel I'm doing nothing with my life. Um,
Yeah. But sometimes it's a way, to analyze a little bit where we are, what we are doing, how good we are on what we do. So it's a way to focus a little bit, and it's a switch moment. Then you find a way to go somewhere, to do something. So I think it's always good when we start, thinking and analyzing our own life. Because often I think people is not, I will not say interested, but you watch always with your eyes outside of yourself, so we always watch what he does, what she does, where they are going, what they are doing. Not so often we watch ourselves. So it's a good moment, I think, when we do focus on ourselves.
Well, that's kind of complicated sometimes for some people, mainly because, well, as you said, sometimes we just can't see good things in ourselves, just bad things maybe, and we see other people and we can feel we're, I don't know, like miserable about our lives.
Yeah, yeah. But I think it's a normal process that time by time happens in life. So, but just the only thing is to get the good uh, uh, the good side of this analysis and move forward.
Well, I think that my next question is kind of related to this in a different way. But how do you perceive music? Not as a theoretical thing in life. How do you see music?
How I see music.
Yeah.
Well, I see music like one of course, the most important thing in my life. But I think that the world needs music and arts in general. For example, last year, with this virus emergency that we had, many people discovered how important it is, to listen music, to watch movies, how much they missed, and still unfortunately missing live concerts or going to cinema, or going to theater. So I think that music and arts are in general very, very important for the
For human life.
human beings, human life. And despite, if you can earn 100 euros per month or 100,000 euros per month. I never had like main goal money in my life, and I will never have for sure. Most important thing is to make music, making it the best I can, as everyone should do. And I think that's the greatest heritage we can leave to the future. I think money will not, how to say, represent you as person and then as a musician. But what will people remember of a musician, of you? It's what you live. So in my case, I can live music. A painter lives paints and so on. So that's the most important heritage. So do your own job and do it at your best.
And what feelings do you have when you're performing live or when you record in the studio?
Performing live, it's one of the most incredible experiences that a musician, of course, can have. As I told you, for me, the approach with audience is very important. When I am on stage, It's strange to say this, but I don't think neither to music or how to play, or how to make this passage. I like just to interact with audience and give them such an experience that night, so they can go home and remember something beautiful also, amazing in somehow. So make them happy. So this is, I think, the main goal that each musician should have in mind. In studio is a studio job I love. I really love the studio job. I spend most of the time in studio, writing, composing, producing. It's a creative moment, You don't create usually on stage. You create in the studio, and so that's very, very important for me because as a composer, of course, one of the most important part of my life.
Now you mentioned about creating the music, and how's your actual creative process? How do you deal with the ideas? Do you have dreams where you listen to a part of music, or I don't know? What's
Yeah.
your creative process?
Oh, I don't know if I have a proper process. This is always a hard question for me because when the time to write some music comes, somehow I feel it. So I don't know how, but I feel that I have to record something. So I just turn on my computer, my keyboards here, and I start recording. But usually I don't have dreams of this melody or this groove. I have some general ideas sometimes, like one day I would like to write a song with, for example, orchestra that does this kind of things, choir that sings that way, and drums that does this groove, but nothing so specific. It's just a wish, so that I would like to hear. So it comes one time then that I think, and I say to myself, well, if I wanted to listen to this kind of combination of things, I have to do it myself. So it's my job. So I start making it.
That's really interesting because, well, I know each musician and composer has a different creative process. When I have talked to musicians here in my city or in my country, or sometimes even watching interviews of musicians I admire, kind of complicated to explain the creative process. Um, but I think that it's even more complicated when we talk about lyrics, maybe, because some I think some people focuses more on the lyrics and in the music in general. It depends also in the kind of music you listen to. I don't know, what do you think about it?
Yeah, it's a very personal approach. For example, I don't start almost never from some specific lyrics. I can have a concept in my mind, like talking about this song should talk about this, but my first approach is always with music. Lyrics, usually I don't write lyrics. If I do write some lyrics, it's just some idea, spare idea that I use as an inspiration to complete the song. There are other musicians or composers that starts from melodies, especially singers. They sing the melody. Sometimes I start from melody. Sometimes I start from a piano improvisation. For example, many of the songs that are in my new album Dreams come from an improvisation, and actually three of them are a real improvisation. I mean, like I turned on the piano and I recorded, and that's all what it's then and what ended on the album. And the other songs have some elements, of improvisation here and there. It is usually happens when I compose piano music. When I compose metal music, I start most of the time from drum, groove, guitar riff. Even if I play, I simulate on my keyboard.
Yeah.
It starts from such kind of groove. Groove approach.
And well, now that you have mentioned your about dreams, it mainly was improvisation. Uh, so, what can you tell me about your experience recording and creating this album? Because it's a very interesting and beautiful material in my opinion. So, how do how do you what do you think about
Thank you.
your work?
I'm glad you like it. Yeah, Dreams is the third album of my let's say classical side. I released the first solo piano, then Keys of Eternity, and then arrived the new Dreams. Dreams collects, as I said, most of the songs that I improvised on the piano. Then some of them I was having like some extra ideas, so adding some vocal parts, but without lyrics, because I thought when you are in you dream, usually you don't have everything well defined. Dreams a little bit foggy. So I want to use vocals. So there are several singers on the album singing, but they just do vocalisms without lyrics. There is just one song that has a text, but it's a narration. There's, the speaker, Abby, violin player, and she also has a wonderful voice. So she doesn't sing it; she just reads this text I wrote. And then I have been also using some couple of songs that I composed for as a soundtracks back in the years for some theater shows. And all the album, I want to keep this very relaxing atmosphere, dreamy, let's say, atmosphere, new age, ambient. So this was a dream album in my plans, and that's why I called it Dreams.
Do you have a favorite track in this album?
Well, it's hard to say. All the tracks are very, very close to me, very dear to me. But maybe one of the last that I composed, it was a very special moment. It's called "Belongs to My Life."
Belongs to my life.
Belongs to my life. Yeah, it's a full improvisation of this song.
And why would you say it's your favorite?
Yeah, because it's maybe because it's just one of the last that I wrote for the album. I think it's exactly the last song that I composed last year, not that long time ago. The album was already recorded basically, and the track list was done. But then, I had a sad experience in my life. One very close friend of mine passed away. But this song is not dedicated just to him, but it's like a general vision of life. And so I was inspired by this event, and I improvised this song. And I call it "Belongs to My Life" because generally it belongs to anyone's life. our life in some point, our life experience at some point ends, and so this is something that belongs to our lives. That's why it's so called.
And would you say you have a particular song maybe in your whole career that you would listen and enjoy as much as the first time you had the idea, or maybe you listen to the final mix?
Yeah, let's say Escape from Hell. It's
Escape from
the
Hell.
it's the opening track from the first Vivaldi Metal Project album.
The first Vivaldi Metal Project album was
The first
in what
was in
year?
2016.
2016.
But this song, Escape from Hell, I composed it, I think, in between Dragonfire and this. So I composed it 2013, 2012, I think. So it was already written.
And why would you say that this is your favorite?
Oh, I
Or
don't know. I just like the song. I like the lyrics. I like who sings, because it's sung by Rob Rock. That is one of my favorite singers ever and one of my greatest friends. Generally, I like the song. It's very powerful metal, but with a great melody. And in the album, of course, there is choir, orchestra. So I just enjoy the song each time I listen to it. It happens sometimes.
and what do you think? Well, that defines the power of a good song, in your opinion?
Which song? This one?
Any song in general.
I didn't understand the question. Sorry.
Um, what would you say that defines how powerful
Ah,
is a song,
the melody,
the melody?
melody of the song, either instrumental or vocal song. It must have always a strong melody. It's not necessarily that it's like a catchy, like usually it's said, like you have to remember it after one time you listen to it. No, for me it is not so important. But important is that it's a very heavy, powerful and melodic line. It can be instrumental or vocal line, but must have really a huge impact on the song.
So, would you say that the melody, the powerful melody in this case, could be not sticky in general terms? Just that you listen to the song, listen to the melody, and you just feel it like that.
For the song that I mentioned before.
In general, but also for this particular song.
Yeah, I mean, what I listen first in any kind of song, instrumental or a vocal song, it's the melody. So that's what catch my attention first. Usually, if the song has a weak melody line, it's hard for me to keep listening to the song.
And when you
So
have the idea for a melody, do you share it with someone, or you just analyze yourself your music?
oh, well, it depends if it's like a solo instrumental album, like for example, it was I released the instrumental metal album Gemini in 2017. Usually, I analyze myself, the balance in the song between melody, groove, the arrangement, how it works, and so on. When it's a vocal song, songs, I always interact, of course, with the singers, and I sometimes I give suggestions, or sometimes I just give a blank paper. So just I give like a backing track, and I ask them to make their own melody. Sometimes it can be half and half. I give some ideas, and then they improve with their own ideas.
Okay, so what's next for Mistheria? What do you have in mind as future projects, or made
Yeah.
in your life? What's next?
Well, next it's the future is very close. This year we are going to release the second Vivaldi Meta Project studio album. Actually, it's a double album, so it's 20 songs, 2 discs that follows the DVD, live DVD that was released in 2019. So this is the most important goal me this year.
For this year?
Yeah, it's of course a long job, as we said at the beginning, a heavy production job with all these musicians, many songs. I had to thank, of course, my studio, recording studio, Artesonica studio in Italy, and the sound engineer, Ivan Moni Bidin, that, really they help. He is doing an amazing job on mixing all the massive material that we have, including band, orchestra, choir. So very, very heavy job. I started working on my new solo album together with a great guitar player and composer from Italy, Francesco Corapi, and singer Gianluca Mastrangelo, which is also the main singer of the Vivaldi Meta Project live band. So my solo album, from my solo album, I will release a single later this year, and then probably the album next year. It means 2022. Yeah, this is basically the studio section of my plans, and then we are going to plan new live shows with the Vivaldi Meta Project. First of all, we want to do a presentation a show for the new album, maybe at the end of this year, and next year go back on stage with all the band, hopefully orchestra, so have a great time again.
So I'm looking forward to listen to everything you're preparing for the future. I have only one last question, and I think it's my favorite question. What kind of advice, what advice would you give to all those people who want to work in music or in arts in general, and they are just scared to, or I don't know, maybe they don't feel as confident as they should? And also,
Yeah.
what advice would you give to all those musicians and artists who want to be someone in this part of life?
Well, first of all, I can say that anyone that want to start with some music or painting or sculpture or anything that is about art, I think is one of the most beautiful choices that they can make. Art make our life better, that's sure. Generally, then what I can advise is simply keeping practicing day by day, little by little, enjoying each single step that they improve in each single progress, and thinking that each time they play or whatever they do in art, they create something that's very special, unique, that it's like it's a small piece of art, each single time. And so this is I think the most wonderful magic in music or in arts in general. Of course, there are always problems, difficulties, challenges that may arise, but these are, I think, as we said before, these are simple steps that help us to improve. It's each single time we find something difficult or hard to achieve is something that, let's say, the fate offers us to grow and move forward, to find a solution. So don't stuck where we are. So it's a way to simply to improve. So we always see a difficulty like something bad, but each difficulty is a simple, easy test that life gives us, to make a step forward. So that's important. So we should be happy when there is something difficult. It means that it's a test for us. We have to find a solution. We have to improve. So always looking ahead after these difficulty obstacles, because if we watch to them in the right way, we can for sure achieve our goals, and let's say we can reach our dreams.
That's important. To always dream. Don't stop dreaming.
Yeah, if we have a dreams, we set a goal, and if we believe in ourselves, we will make that dream coming true.
Well, thanks a lot, Mistheria, for this wonderful interview. I had an amazing time talking to you. I think that this interview was amazing for me as a person and for Capital Sensorial. So, in representation of the whole group, I want to say thank you.
Thanks to you.
It's been an honor.
It was my great pleasure. Muchas gracias. Can I say that?
Yeah. Muchas gracias.
A big hello and hug to all the Capital Sensorial Radio listeners. And I want to send a special hug and greetings to one of your great Mexican artists. That is one friend of mine. It's Nitza Oremort from Nostra band. She's a wonderful singer, great friend of mine. This is special hello. It's for her. And thanks to you, Angel, for this invitation. It was a very great pleasure, and it was so nice interview. So your second international interview,
yes, in Europe,
was fantastic. So it's like you had 200.
Thank you. I was very nervous. I can get better. I know.
You won that, so you got that. Thank you so much.
So a todos nuestros amigos de Capital Sensorial, nos vemos en la próxima entrevista.